Yo, what's going on, guys? Ryan Hodge with FantasyLabs.com here, and we are on the week two slate, and we're going to take a look at my quarterback model and talk some quarterbacks today. So let's jump right in. You can see we've got it sorted by rating right now, and I've got Brady, Russ, and Herbert rounding out the top three of my quarterback model. So we'll kind of start and focus there, and maybe touch on some of these other guys who don't have as high of a rating, but definitely have a handful of other good things going their way for them this week. So Brady is an interesting one. I always have a tough time playing guys who can't produce with their legs. And, you know, I couldn't tell you the last time Brady ran more than half a yard with his legs. He's got a just under 11% projected ownership here in the Fantasy Labs projections, but he does have a very, very good opponent plus minus of 5.1, a great leverage score of 3, and a very, very good ceiling. And here's why. The pace should be up. Atlanta gave up, I think, the second or third most fantasy points to opposing teams' quarterbacks last year, and Brady slings. I mean, flat out, he's got phenomenal correlation with Chris Godwin. He's got great correlation with Mike Evans, and it's a very easy stack to bring back with somebody like Calvin Ridley or Kyle Pitts. A little bit of flop lag there on Kyle Pitts, who should be a little bit under-owned, especially seeing a price hike on DraftKings going all the way up to 5K or 5,200. So I get Brady here. I think the ceiling projection is high. I don't know what the probability of him hitting that projection without rushing. Um, but it is because he's probably going to throw the ball 40 plus times in this game. I mean, there's a realistic chance that that does happen. 7 pro trends in the model and an insane implied team total of 32 points. So I get it. And I will be exposed to Brady. I actually really like him as a pivot. There's so many people in this late slate. If we just take a look at the afternoon only. I mean, Justin, Russ, Kyler, Dak. I mean, it's stacked with quarterbacks in that late slate. So I think using Brady will be a little bit unique and still gives you massive upside and is a very easy game stack. Russ is probably my favorite quarterback this week. There's a lot of talk around Dak and Justin Herbert, and for really good reason. If we take a look at snaps here and we look at the average offensive snaps, you've got Dak and Herbert right there at 74 snaps and 73 snaps. These teams ran at the second and fifth situation neutral highest pace plays per game or seconds per play in 2020. So it absolutely makes sense, and I think they're extremely strong plays. I don't think you have to get overly cute and fade them or pivot off of them. I'll be exposed to them without a doubt in the single entry and 3 max contests that I play. Those two guys are definitely players who I will have exposure to. I think I prefer the Herbert side just a little bit, but I mean, I it's nitpicking when it comes to like a personal preference. And then so for me, when I always have a tough decision, I go, okay, who does my model like? Justin Herbert. Great. I like let the years worth of data, all of this information that we have back tested, let that help you make tough decisions. So I do think Herbert gets a little bit of an advantage there. And I will say, in my model specifically, which you can see, I have it right here. There's a lot of other models that we can choose from with our pro models and some other models that I just have saved. It most likely has to do with his opponent plus minus as why he is rating so high. So his opponent rating there, and he does have the far better opponent plus minus to Dak. So that's why he rates so highly in my model. If we just go to like a lower variance cash model, we can take a look too. I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar in regards to Herbert over. Yeah, he rates number one in the cash model. Wow, look at Russ up there again. He rates number one in the cash model, and you can see Dak has a much higher rating in this cash model than he does in my tournament model. So once again, using multiple models to try and give you a whole picture of the slate. You don't just have to stick to mine or stick to Bales or CSUs. You can definitely, I highly, highly recommend taking a look. Like, let's take a look at Sean's model here and see who he has at the quarterback position for his number one rated player. I think Sean uses a lot of projected plus minus, which is just a very good trend to use in regards to encompassing like a lot of historical data. Justin Herbert, number one in his model, Dak, number four in his model, and then one of my favorite guys, Russ, taking a bit of a hit there. So Dak creeping up. So like I said, look, I don't, it's honestly can just be as simple as what has a great over under. Do they give you some rushing upside? What does their implied team total look like? The pace is great. Awesome. I mean, it can be as simple as that. I think matchups are very important in fantasy, and it's something that I talk about a lot. You can see it in like my concise convictions. I always am highlighting players' opponent plus minus or what their DVOA looks like. From like a Football Outsiders metric, taking a look at what DVOA is for running versus passing and seeing if there's some type of a funneling defenses, or excuse me, funneling offenses into a specific play call. So, anyways, back to my model. Those three guys rounded out. I don't think you can go wrong with any one of them. Now, Teddy creeping up here. Teddy with a good implied team total. And I think it's at what, 25 or something like that. Yeah, 25 and a half. Great opponent plus minus. Baker and Stafford. So, okay, I want to spend some time. I don't want to I don't want to skip Baker. That offense is far too run heavy for me to ever uh, put a large amount of money on Baker Mayfield, in DFS. It's got to be a very, very good game script. And they should be running the ball a ton. I think Nick Chubb is a phenomenal play come Sunday. Like, I really do. He's not getting a lot of buzz. It's against Houston. It's a good opponent plus minus. They should be running the ball a lot. So I have a harder time playing Chubb on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I like where the touchdown equity is so, so important. I think Nick Chubb is a great play. Anyways, we're talking quarterbacks today. I want to talk about Stafford. This is a guy to me, an opponent plus minus of 7.9, a great implied team total at 25 and a half, rates well in my model here, and they moved at a very quick pace. I think they were the first or second situation neutral plays per second in week one. So it was a much different look than we've seen. And this is a great offense. And Kupp, Woods, Darrell Henderson, every single one of those players is catching passes. So this isn't like a Baker Mayfield and a Chubb thing where they're just going to hand the ball off to Darrell Henderson. Like, Henderson's catching passes out of the backfield, which I think helps Stafford a little bit here. Great price point. Uh, but he's tough to get to when you have guys like Dak, Herbert, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Tom Brady. I mean, the list goes on at quarterbacks this week. It is a lot of options at quarterback this week. So I do think Stafford is definitely worth consideration there. And like, let's not forget, like, Jalen and Josh Allen are still on this slate. Two guys who give you a ton of upside with their legs. Josh Allen on the Bills offense, who we expect to be passing at a much higher rate than the rest of the league and leading the league in passing rate. So like, whew, and I think Josh has like a half decent matchup against Miami too. So once again, it's a very stacked week at quarterback. A lot of pace in this Miami Buffalo game. I just it is an insane week at quarterback. And it's why I just keep going back to Russell Wilson personally. I really like Russ in this spot against Tennessee. They gave up the fifth most points to opposing teams' quarterbacks in 2020, and obviously were shredded in week one. So easy bring back with Russ. Rates really well in my model. Checks so many boxes: pro trends, implied team total, leverage score, high rating, good over under, playing it, like everything is just perfect for Russ. So it's why I keep going back to him because as a tournament player, I I'm I'm making up a lot on the field if he has four more points than a couple of these other quarterbacks who are in very, very good spots. Not to say that I won't have, Justin and Brady in a handful of my so like I play all three of the big power sweeps and I run nine different lineups across them. So I don't play three sets of the same lineup in all three. It's literally nine different lineups. So I will be exposed to all of these. It'll be a strange week for sure. Probably just be hunting for that one good quarterback lineup and hope the rest of the pieces fall into play. But it's a very very fun week at quarterback for sure. If we dip lower, Kyler's a tricky one. He's pretty expensive, but he's probably the best rushing quarterback on this slate. I think over his last 12 games, he's averaging just shy of 9 rush attempts. And I think in that same 12 game span, he has 8 rushing touchdowns, with one of those games coming with multiple rushing touchdowns. I mean, like, that's where his ceiling is. And that's what he has over all of these other quarterbacks. Some of them have some rushing upside, but Kyler is without a doubt the one who has the highest rushing upside from the Russells and Herberts and obviously Brady, and even Josh Allen. I think he has the highest rushing upside, and so that really elevates his ceiling and his floor. Which if you're playing cash, you're probably playing one of these cheaper quarterbacks like Herbert, anyways, but it definitely does elevate his ceiling. He's got a great median projection there at 24 points and a good implied ownership, projected ownership at 6.5. So if we filter by projected ownership here, you'll see he comes down a little bit lower. Once again, look at my boy Russ. I mean, look, a percentile different is really, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal off these guys who are 15 and 14 and 13, right? So I think that's a pretty big deal. And then once again, back to Brady here. Guy just slinging footballs left and right. I mean, the passing volume from him is insane, which probably means Leonard Fournette is going to have career high 33 rush attempts or something stupid. Um, but that's just how it goes. So let's sort back by rating. There are not a lot of guys who I'm overly interested, at the lower end of my model here. I just I'm not gonna go to Jameis in Carolina. Oh, excuse me. I think Joe Burrow is. I mean, maybe the yawn before I said Joe Burrow is all we need to know. He just lacks a little bit of that passing volume, and I think they might early on in the season just give Joe Mixon those extra rush attempts just to work their quarterback back into play. I do like ancillary pieces from that game, though. I do think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are fantastic. I think that Allen Robinson is fantastic. Those are guys who I'll be working into my stack, but stay focused on quarterback. And I don't have a ton of interest in going to Ryan Tannehill or Big Ben or the extremely immobile Kirk Cousins handing the ball off 22 times to Dalvin Cook. Don't get me wrong, Kirk has gotten there before. He's won people a lot of money before. It's not something at $6,200. I'm much more likely to play. I honestly think maybe Teddy Bridgewater in a good matchup, good implied team total. You can pair him up with Noah Fant really, really easily and create leverage not only at your quarterback position, but also at the tight end position off of a guy like Cole Kmet or Tyler Higbee at a very similar price point. So I prefer Teddy there over a lot of these other guys. So if looking to go really, really cheap so you can hashtag team jam them in, I think Teddy is not the worst of plays in this matchup. So still not so I won't have any exposure to him. I'm keeping it condensed around those 4 or 5 quarterbacks without a doubt, and I won't have any exposure to Teddy. But if looking, model rating likes him, great implied team total, couple pro trends going his way, good at projected ownership, and very easy to stack in that game. You run it back with a guy like DJ Shark or Visca, and I think it's a very easy game to get a little mini stack going for sure. So anyways, as a quick one this week, hopefully that gives you a little bit of context around the quarterback position in week 2, make sure to check out all the tools that we have here at Fantasy Labs, like the lineup optimizer, our custom models, all different types of content that we're writing for week 2 that's all available up on the site live as you are watching this. So with that, you can sign up in the link below, and don't forget to hit that like button and tell me who's your favorite quarterback this week. I mean, are you pivoting? Are you going to get super unique on this field and go with something crazy like a Kirk Cousins or a Big Ben or something along those lines? Or are you going to kind of middle the field with ownership and maybe just stick to a guy like Brady or potentially even, Kyler Murray or something like that? So let me know who you're playing, who your favorite quarterback is, and run good in week 2. And I'll see you guys in week 3 for the next one. Peace.